Good morning. I am Dave Lewis, and thank you for joining the presentation about brain health and exercise. Today, I'll be providing a presentation for you, giving a little bit of my story and letting you know the benefits of exercise for your brain. Again, I'm a personal trainer in the community. Our location is in Delaware. We're right at the crossroads of Dublin, Powell, and Delaware. So it's a Delaware address. I'll give you the contact information at the end of the presentation. Again, my role full time, I get to provide corrective exercise that improves posture for older adults. I do cognitive exercise to improve the brain health that reduces the cognitive decline of elder years. And I do a lot of balance training for older adults. So we'll talk about that further. I'll get the screen set up here for a full size presentation, and then we'll get started here. All right, so welcome. So this is my family. I'm blessed to have 4 children, 12, 10, age 3, and a little 9-month-old. And as you see in the picture on the left there, my wife is also expecting our 5th. So alongside working with clients and keeping fit, I'm also moving all evening with these young children too. So it's a blessing, and I thank God for that. So we're going to start out today with a little quiz to see what you know about dementia, Alzheimer's, cognitive decline, and see how you do. It's a quick quiz that will help us see what your starting place is. So true or false? Simple here. Alzheimer's and dementia are the same thing. True or false? Perhaps you said true. Well, the answer is false. Dementia is a broad term for a group of symptoms that mean you have trouble with learning and memory. Alzheimer's is one form of dementia and the most common type, but it accounts for only 60 to 80% of all cases. Next question. By the way, this is all coming from WebMD, so you can check this out too. Red wine and grape juice can help reverse Alzheimer's. True or false? If you answered false, you're correct. No vitamin or supplement or food or drug has been shown to cure Alzheimer's. Again, no vitamin, food, or supplement's been able to show a cure to Alzheimer's. Question number 3. Well, you get this one. Which of these raises your risk of Alzheimer's? Which of the following 3 raises your risk? Is it your age? Is it aluminum cans? Or is it a flu shot? If you answered age, you are correct. Age is the #1 risk factor, so perhaps that's why you're here joining us today. So age is the #1 risk factor. The older you are, the more likely you are to get Alzheimer's. The actual cause is not fully known at this point. True or false? If one of your parents has Alzheimer's, you'll probably get it too. True. True or false? You'll also get it too if your parents had it. Well, if you answered false, you are correct. If one of your parents has this, not always the reason. Less than 5% of the cases are true familial Alzheimer's, a type that runs in families. Your genes do play a role, though. If you have a parent or a sibling with Alzheimer's, you'll have a higher chance of getting it. And that's something that you cannot change, having a higher chance, but doesn't guarantee that you will get it. Okay, next question. When does Alzheimer's start? Answer 1, within 1 year of memory loss, or 2, after 5 years of memory loss, or 3, 20 plus years before memory loss. What did you say? The answer is 20 plus years before memory loss. Little side note, repeating yourself, getting lost, showing fuzzy thinking skills all show up after the process of Alzheimer's has already begun in the brain. Researchers believe the disease may start to cause physical changes years or decades before symptoms appear. Okay, 3 questions left and we'll get rolling on the presentation. What are the odds that you'll get Alzheimer's if you live to 85? Choice 1, 50% chance. 2, 75% chance. Or 3, 99%. What are the odds that you'll get Alzheimer's if you live to 85? If you said 50% chance, you are correct. Alzheimer's is not a normal part of aging. It's true that most people who get it are over 65, but your risk doubles every 5 years after age 65. Fascinating. And last 2 questions. What protects your brain more? Choice 1, learning a new skill. Choice 2, doing a morning crossword. Or choice 3, a weekly computer game. If you said learning a new skill, you are correct. Experts don't know if doing mental work can prevent Alzheimer's, but it may help build brain power, and that helps you hold off memory loss. It's better to learn new things than to fall into old habits. It's also better to work on your brain every day with exercise, which we'll get into. Last one, who spends more money on Alzheimer's care? Number 1, a live-in caregiver. 2, a local caregiver. Or 3, a long-distance caregiver. I think that's an easy one. It's a long-distance caregiver. Those who live more than 2 hours away can spend almost $10,000 a year in travel, phone, and paid helpers. That's almost twice as much as those who live local. Thought you'd like that quiz today. Hope that helps you. As I mentioned, this is a picture of my family, my immediate family, and this next slide is going to tell you about my background. There on the left-hand side, you'll see a picture of a preteen me and my father. So I've got these 2 stories I'm going to compare and contrast. And then on the right side, you'll see a gentleman I have the privilege of training every week. So I'll start with my father. My father passed away in January. I miss him, and I thank God for his life. My father had Alzheimer's, and my wife and I have had the privilege of spending the last 3-4 years of his life with him in our home. Mom and Dad moved in here with us, and I got to see every step of the process of him declining, from walking to moving to a walker to when he couldn't walk, to those physical declines, to all the mental declines, from when he would forget things to when he would know who we were from time to time, to when he was very visibly upset because he was so confused. My dad sold insurance for a living. And for exercise, he loved to swim. That's why I put that picture there. There's Dad in the water, one of our favorite things to do. But all he did was exercise. That was his main thing. So Dad was really good at insurance sales, really good at swimming. He didn't push himself a ton in the swimming. He just kind of did some nice leisurely lap swimming. So he had 2 main things he did, work and he swam. If you remember back in that quiz, it talks about learning a new skill. That's what we're going to unpack a little bit today, how the brain likes to be challenged to learn new things. So now looking at this gentleman I have a privilege of training, you can see him catching a ball. I'm throwing a ball to him while he's stepping over a hurdle. This gentleman's in his late 70s, and he has been doing everything. I gave him an exercise prescription faithfully, diligently, almost an hour and a half, very dedicated. So this gentleman was diagnosed to have early onset of dementia, mild cognitive impairment there from his neurologist. He had no hope. The neurologist said, I'm sorry, you're going to have to just take the meds and hope that slows it down. Good luck to you. But I thank God that a friend of his referred him to us, and he came and he's been exercising and doing brain exercise, the combination of mental stimulation and physical challenge. And he has seen great progress. So a year after starting with me, he returned to the neurologist to find out, zero further decline. He actually held his own and did not get any worse. So I thank God for that progress in him and his determination. So there's two stories. Dad, who kept it simple, didn't do a lot of new things. Wish I would have known what I know now early on with my dad, but now I'm using what I know to help those that I'm meeting here. So here's a little graph to kind of illustrate what we're talking about. Normal aging, everyone has some kind of cognitive decline. That's a guarantee. So we have a preclinical stage. And these are the stages there. The silent phase, you can read that there before you. Brain changes without measurable symptoms. And then the next step, an individual may notice some changes, but not detectable on tests. This is a stage where the patient knows something's going on. However, the doctor's not able to visibly test that just yet. Then we're in mild cognitive impairment stage, where you have cognitive changes that are of concern to you and to your family members. They are starting to see some things. You've misplaced the keys, and that's been the third time in the day that that's happened. Different things like that. One or more cognitive domains in your life are impaired significantly, and your preserved activities of daily living are affected. Then we move into dementia, mild, moderate, and moderately severe, and that's something, unfortunately, many of us are familiar with. This graph here shows you a little bit of the change that our brain can make. You've heard the word probably neuroplasticity. That's the idea of our brain being able to change and develop. Right now I have a 3-year-old, he's full of energy, and if you look at that far left side of that chart there, you'll see age 2 and 4. The blue line is up there. My little 3-year-old, he could learn 5 languages if he wanted to right now. The brain's ability to change and response to experience is tremendous. If we go all the way over to the far right side, you see where that red line is. The amount of effort to do so, to bring those changes, is significant, very significant. So we want to recognize right here at the outset that it's hard. So if you are 55 and up today and you're listening to this presentation, it's going to require a lot more effort, but it's not impossible. It's doable, but you do have to be intentional about keeping that in the forefront of your time and your energy to keep that decline from regressing worse. So another helpful chart here. You can see real quickly the gray line is the one that probably pops out to you. Gray line is memory. That's the one that often goes down fastest as you see the ages represented at the bottom. Second thing is our speed. It takes us a little bit longer to recall things. That's another one. We'll continue to talk about more of these, but I want to point out those two, memory and speed of processing. We'll talk more about working memory and your perceptual abilities, problem solving furthermore in the presentation here. Normal aging, you know, we all have some neuronal decline in our brain, some variable changes, but with Alzheimer's, you're going to have loss of neurons. Things are beginning to die. MRIs done of the brain show spaces in there where there's lack of activity versus, you know, a regular aging. There's just forgetfulness. That's normal. Nothing to worry about if you forget from time to time. However, testing with Alzheimer's shows that there's a significant loss of neurons. We want to fight against that through exercise. Here's a little hope, though. I just talked about a lot of slides where there's a lot of challenge, but here's a little bit of hope for you today. 40% of dementia cases could be prevented by addressing these lifestyle factors. Let's focus on the hope here. You can increase your education, you can increase your physical activity, and you can increase social contact. So in a day like this where there's a pandemic and a lot of us are in our homes more often, that makes the challenge even harder. So we're going to talk about ways you can work on this. Here's some other factors that influence your brain health and the rate of cognitive decline. Exercise will help, nutrition will help, social, we just covered those, but stress in your life, sleep, alcohol is not a good thing for fighting against that. It's going to only make it worse. Hypertension, obesity, smoking, diabetes, depression, higher cholesterol. We talked earlier about a family history. Those things are all going to influence this and make it harder. Genetic susceptibility. I have that in my family. Hearing loss, lower level of formal education, of course, brain stimulation, and age are all factors. So physical activity can incredibly impact our brain. You can see this kind of complicated chart here, but if you look at the top where it says behavioral changes, you'll see a little guy running there in that top right corner. So you increase your activity and exercise, you can see the molecular changes in your brain that happen. So blood increases, heart rate's pumping, breathing's up. That increases the oxygen in your brain, and it produces something we'll talk about later called BDNF. It's basically brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and that's something that helps increase the neuroplasticity in your brain. So those neuronal changes at the bottom happen in your brain. Structural changes happen in your brain, increasing the volume, and this is going to help improve cognition and improve your overall mood as well. So exercise with a cognitive challenge helps increase our brain's capacity to function as we age. So at least 80% of the gray matter in the brain is modifiable by physical activity and exercise. You can see these images of MRIs done of the brain showing the red activity level through exercise. Tremendous. That gives us a lot of hope. I love this picture here. It tells you how the brain changes. The first step there is called neurogenesis. So we are made as people to be able to reproduce, right? And our brain is supposed to reproduce new baby neurons that help increase that cerebral cortex in our brain. So we want to have continuous generation of new neurons to be able to thrive in our lives. So we want to increase that through exercise. And then once those new baby neurons are there, we want to make a strong connection where they're all linked together. New skills and experiences help strengthen and create new neural connections. And then you continue to do that, and that only strengthens it more, that repetition, that practice. And then you have some more gray matter in your brain to be able to help you function in daily life. That's what we want in our lives. So this is a great quote. Many of you are probably familiar with this. We want to have at least 150 minutes. You're probably thinking, okay, I can handle that. That's just 2 hours and 30 minutes. Then it breaks down different ways you can do that. But if you can get at least a bare minimum of 150 minutes a week, preferably aerobic activity, that should be spread throughout the week. That's going to help. That's a great starting point. But again, we have to have the balance of physical exercise with cognitive challenge. And we'll talk more about what that looks like. I describe it as a smoothie. As a trainer, I'm working with clients regularly, so a quick protein drink or a smoothie is something I'm often pursuing on my quick 10-minute breaks in between clients. I got 10 minutes, okay, I gotta get a quick drink. So here's a picture of what we call our two littles, our 3-year-old and our 9-month-old, only they're a little younger in this photo. Think of the best brain exercise as a smoothie. So there's 2 key ingredients in that perfect brain smoothie. You want increased blood flow. So whether you're marching in place and or doing some steps up and down, and that's going to increase your brain blood flow. And then you want to add a cognitive challenge that makes you think. Could be counting backwards from 17 by 3s, or different things like that. And then so you add that cognitive challenge, you add a memory challenge to that exercise when your brain is increasing blood flow, and that will help improve your brain. So here's a picture showing that an increased cardiorespiratory exercise helps affect your brain, increases that white matter and the medial temporal lobes. You don't have to know all the lobes of the brain, but this is a little photo that kind of helps you see how that works. There are 4 cognitive domains. Those are 4 key areas, and you might identify with a way that you are weak. So think of these as volume buttons. So as you are listening to one of your favorite songs and you want to turn that up. So we'll start with the first one, memory. Obviously, it's easy to understand what that is, our memory. We are always going to recognize, oh, my volume switch is a little low. I need to turn up the volume on that exercise to increase my memory. Attention. If you want to improve your attention, you get distracted, you go in one room and you forget what you were getting and you have to retrace your steps. Attention is an area to increase. Executive function. This is, hey, if you're hosting a family at your home and you're getting ready, there's 15 people coming over. We don't do that that much anymore because of the pandemic. However, getting a meal ready, you got to get the meals, the plates, the silverware, maybe some hospitality gifts set out on the table. My mom used to do that all the time. Processing speed is another thing that we want to turn the volume up on. That's okay. How long does it take you to process new information? Are you finding yourself reading something 5 times over and you just can't process it the way that you used to? That's something we need to always increase the volume on that. So here's some examples. And this presentation, I'm happy to send it to anybody who may contact me. Memory. So if you think about when your first child was born, probably easy to remember. Do you remember your first date? Well, if you want to keep remembering so that you can remember your first child's child, we got to keep that memory sharp. Attention, as we just talked about, that volume knob. Have you ever sought to focus on something really hard, but you keep getting distracted? It's kind of detouring you. This is something you got to keep working on. So even when you can't remember what that original task was at hand, and you have to keep retracing it, we got to do some exercise to stimulate that part of our brain. Processing speed. This is if you're driving along and all of a sudden a ball rolls out in front of the car. Well, you know what's usually following the ball? Usually a young child. And that will be horrible if that happened to you and you were not able to react in time. We want your processing speed to be sharp so you're ready for whatever life throws at you. Your executive functioning. When was the last time you hosted somebody in your home? Did you ever feel lately that it takes you a little longer just to prepare for them? I want to help you with that. Moms are usually very gifted at this. My mom, again, is really good at that. So, well, let's get on our feet real quick. We're going to practice this. So wherever you are, even if you're standing at a walker, let's stand up for just 1 second here and try to do a quick exercise. I'll give you an example. Okay, imagine as you're facing the screen, there's a compass on the floor, and you're positioned in the middle of that compass, okay? So in front of you is north, behind you is south, to your right is east, to your left is west, okay? So this is an example. I would have already done some exercise to get your breathing and where you're a little bit out of breath. So for time's sake, I'm gonna just start right here. I'm gonna give you some directions now, ready? And I want you to just either step forward 1 foot towards that direction and then return to center, or step both feet, whatever you can do, okay? North, south, east. Now go ahead and follow that direction and do those steps. North, south, east. Perfect. So that's just a auditory attention drill. Now, remember what I just said and try to do it backwards. So now you're recalling, what did he say? Try it now if you can remember, going backwards. So if you remember, it was north, south, east. So reverse, if you did it correctly, you went east, south, and then north. So that's a delayed recall memory drill. It's working on your attention, working on your memory. And then if I wanted to improve your processing speed, I would add another one right after that to challenge you to be ready for the next one, then the next one. Those are just a couple quick examples of one simple drill that we could do. There are hundreds of these that we could work on together. Very helpful. So here's a little example of what we just did here. So I'm going to just jump to the bottom of this. So mental and physical training. If you see before exercise, you have four little red dots. See those four little red dots? Those represent baby neurons growing in your brain that helps increase that brain's capacity. So during exercise, if I would have had you do some step ups and then that little drill, you would have increased your baby neurons to 6. And then after exercise, when you complete that, those 6 neurons remain in place. However, just doing mental training above, like a crossword puzzle, you challenge the brain and you go from 4 to 4 and then 4 after. Physical exercise only, the second row, 4, move to 6, and then you only have 3 after. So ideally, brain training with exercise has been shown to make really good progress in increasing the neuroplasticity, aka new baby neurons in the brain. So here's some helpful resources. You might be saying, how do I do this? You may not be able to come to my studio here in Delaware. What's some ways that you can do that? If you have a smartphone, pull that smartphone up, look up the Switched On app. And there's some directions on there that show you. It's a free app. You can download it and it'll give you some brain challenges. There's another app called Clock Yourself. Simple, free, available on your smartphone. Podcasts you can listen to. There's a podcast series called The Broken Brain with Drew Purohit, and he has some excellent information for you that will help you grow in this. Another favorite of mine is the Doctor's Pharmacy with an F. Pharmacy, and it's from Dr. Mark Hyman. He's got some incredible presentations on there. He's a lot of guest speakers. This will help you as well. If you want more information, I have a whole spreadsheet. This is just a slim version, whole spreadsheet of information and resources I could email to you. There's my email there, David P as in Paul Lewis 78@gmail.com. So feel free to email me if you want some more info. Next steps. Step 1, if you would like to email me to request a cognitive assessment to self-evaluate where you're at, I'm happy to email you that form. I'm happy to meet with you. I do free 20-minute consultations for you. We can do that over the phone, over FaceTime. We can do it virtually or in person. But I'd like to evaluate you to see how your memory, your attention, your processing, and that executive function is working. You're welcome to call me for that half-off assessment. That's actually a full 50-minute session. Most people take that because they can have more time. So feel free to contact me. My phone number is right there at the bottom. And lastly, you can find a friend and contact Dave, and we can do a group exercise. So if you're saying, I can't afford it, our sessions are $70 for the hour. And some people would rather just share that and split it up, $35. So lots of options. I'm happy to work with you if I can help you in any way. Now we're going to have a question and answer time. You're welcome to just email that or post that on my page, and I'm happy to answer any questions directly on phone, email, or Facebook. Thank you for your time. God bless, and I hope this is helpful. I look forward to talking with you more in the future.